Well, here we are, Star Trek fans, the final episode of Dan's Disco Deep Dives, at least until the next season of Discovery. This is the show in which I take a look at the Easter eggs, hidden bits, and canon connections for the newest episode of Star Trek Discovery. This week, the season finale, Such Sweet Sorrow, Part 2. The episode was written by the same writers as Part 1, Michelle Paradise, Jenny Lumet, and Alex Kurtzman, and directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi. Saru quotes Sun Tzu's The Art of War moments before the battle with Leland's forces begins. Georgiou recognizes the quote, showing that she and her Prime Universe counterpart have something in common. Prime Georgiou also quoted Sun Tzu in Battle at the Binary Stars, and Saru indicated that he was familiar with the ancient writing in that episode as well. When fighting breaks out, we see the Enterprise and Discovery let loose with their phaser banks. This marks the first time we see the iconic blue beam phasers from Star Trek the original series. The sound effect as they blast the enemy forces is lifted from TOS as well. 47 alert. Michael will require 2 minutes and 47 seconds to reach a safe distance from the battle in her Red Angel suit to deploy the wormhole. When all hope appears to be lost in the battle, Discovery and Enterprise get a powerful ally, the Klingons. I think we all expected to see them in this episode, but what I did not expect was the return of the massive Klingon cleave ship, last seen in Season 1's Battle at the Binary Stars. The ship seen in that episode was destroyed when the USS Europa self-destructed, and this would appear to be another of that same class of vessel, also equipped with a cloaking device. In order to deal with damage incurred to the hull, Pike orders the DOT-7s to be deployed. These appear to be autonomous repair bots. However, some have pointed out that they look quite similar to an EVA suit seen in the TNG technical manual, seen here. However, the DOT-7s appear to be robotic and not living beings in extravehicular pods or suits. Number 1 and Cornwell work unsuccessfully to disarm a photon torpedo lodged in the Enterprise's primary hull, and Pike relieves his first officer from torpedo vigil duty and has her take the con. It is in this moment that we finally get a canon reference to a name for this character other than Number 1. Listen carefully.
Report back to the bridge. I'm giving you the con, Una.
The name Una actually comes from the Star Trek novel universe. The name was given to Number 1 by authors David Mack, Dayton Ward, Kevin Dillmore, and Greg Cox while writing the Star Trek Legacies trilogy from a couple of years ago. While having the obvious connection to the word Una meaning one, it was also chosen in part to honor their fellow Star Trek author Una McCormack. Oddly, the CBS All Access closed captioning omits the name altogether, while the Netflix captioning mistakenly refers to her as Nuna. As Spock and Burnham say goodbye to one another, Burnham provides some advice to her little brother. She tells him to, quote, find that person who seems farthest from you and reach for them. Let them guide you. She would seem to be referring to the lifelong friendship that Spock would go on to form with James T. Kirk, as well as possibly the friendship that will develop between Spock and Leonard McCoy. This was a nice foreshadowing of what is to come in Spock's life, and a nice legacy for the Burnham character to leave for him. In the heat of the battle, L'Rell proclaims in Klingon, "Today is a good day to die," marking the first time in Discovery that the Klingons have uttered this iconic phrase, first spoken by Worf in Star Trek The Next Generation. With all of the previous 5 red signals set, Burnham leads Discovery through the wormhole and into an uncertain future. Interestingly, the visual effect when the crew is entering the wormhole is reminiscent of the wormhole time dilation effect seen in Star Trek The Motion Picture, when an engine imbalance causes an unstable wormhole to form. Setting the ridiculous physics of this blast door aside, it is the latest in a long line of Star Trek scenes to feature 2 characters separated by a transparent barrier, and one of them giving their lives in an heroic death. With the Discovery traveling through the wormhole to a point nearly 1,000 years in the future, the fate of those aboard her is uncertain. For one thing, as far as we know, Georgiou was still aboard the ship when it went through the wormhole, meaning she is in the future with everyone else, and indeed we have been told that she will play a part in Discovery's 3rd season. If that is indeed the case, does the planned Section 31 series, for which Michelle Yeoh will be in the lead role, take place in the 33rd century? Or will she somehow find her way back in the course of the 3rd season of Discovery or afterwards? Only time will tell. During his debriefing, Spock cites Starfleet Regulation 157, Section 3. This regulation was first stated by Agent Dulmer of the Federation Department of Temporal Investigations in the Deep Space Nine episode, Trials and Tribulations.
Regulation 157, Section 3, Paragraph 18. Starfleet officers shall take all necessary precautions to minimize any participation in historical events.
As Spock waits for the seventh signal to prove that Burnham and the Discovery are safe in the future, he notes that the universe is under no obligation to make sense to me, paraphrasing an Earth physicist. That physicist is Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, in what I believe is the first reference to him in Star Trek. Near the very end of the episode, Enterprise detects the seventh and final signal. Spock, having recently shaved his beard and donned his Starfleet uniform, takes his customary place on the Enterprise bridge as she heads out on her next mission. I talked a lot about the set design of the Enterprise, and the bridge in particular, in last week's episode, but I wanted to make a special note about the science station at this point. The design is a hugely faithful update of the original design, and kudos to the set designers for the job they did here. Gorgeous. This camera move would appear to be almost the reverse of the first time we see Captain Pike's crew in the cage and the menagerie. This shot is clearly an homage to that iconic view of the Enterprise bridge. And now, with the Enterprise on track to have her own adventures and go on to take her place in Star Trek history, Discovery is cut loose nearly 1,000 years in the future and ready to do her own thing. I'm certainly curious to see what that will look like, but we may have to wait a while to find out. In the meantime, however, we have short treks coming soon. I'm sure the dates for those will be announced not too far in the future, and then the Picard series. Rest assured, I will be making videos similar to these for that series. I will have to think of something to call it other than Disco Deep Dives, but I'll figure something out. I'll also be making similar videos for the short treks, of course, but I may combine the review and deep dive videos together because I imagine they'll be much shorter. Before then, however, I'm looking forward to getting back to doing news videos. Got a lot to catch up on there, book reviews, as well as other stuff. Which reminds me, I'm heading to the Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo this week, so look for videos from that event coming soon as well. This season of Discovery has been a ton of fun, mostly thanks to being able to see and respond to your feedback. The response to my videos has been overwhelming and truly touching. I'm really glad to have been able to do them for you, and I'm glad the response has been mostly positive. Thank you so much to the Patreon supporters who have absolutely made these videos possible. I could not have done it without you. Thank you to everyone else for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing, and leaving all of your awesome comments. I look forward to reading what you've come up with that I might have missed in this episode. While Discovery may be over for a while, there's still a lot more Trek to come. So, until the next video, slip on your disco shoes, take a spin on the dance floor, and prepare for the next chapter in the Star Trek saga. I'll be seeing you.